Hey y'all, good morning. It's Vanessa with Farmgirl Gardens and Market, and I did some foraging of pine cones earlier this week, and I wanted to share a little bit about what I'm doing with them. So we have an abundance of pine trees on our property, and in addition to just creating a really interesting grow space to add some acidity to the soil and grow things that maybe otherwise wouldn't grow in our area, they produce an abundance of these little guys. And so while you can compost them, and it's a great addition to your compost pile because these act as little bacteria biomes or little hotels for bacteria to collect and stay. And so they don't break down that well, but they actually create a really good home for the beneficial bacteria in your compost pile. So if you do have them, go ahead and throw them in your compost pile. But if you want to be crafty around Christmas time, and if you have some, eco-conscious friends that you would like to gift some things to, then I find that this is a really fun and affordable, sustainable way to bless them this Christmas season. So what I have is I have a lot of friends who enjoy wood fires in their home and bonfires. And so what I wanted to do is to make them some two things, fragrant or scented pine cones, because I really don't think there's anything as quintessential as, cinnamon scented pine cones in the home around Christmas. And then for fire starters, you can actually do a couple of things to make these act as a really good ignition for your bonfire or your wood fire. Real quick, I have got some baby chicks in the greenhouse today. I am actually acclimating them to be able to take them outside. So I have all the windows open. So it's a little bit cold. And you're going to hear them in the background. So that is, what we're dealing with today. Uh, anyway, moving on. So if you want to just make the scented pine cones, the way that you do that is you just, with a regular spray bottle of water, choose your fragrance, your essential oils. Now, I am not brand loyal at all to essential oils. I typically am looking for quality and price. I want a good value, and I want them to be, organic oils, not synthetic or chemically derived fragrance. And the way that you tell is really in how it's labeled. There is a lot of greenwashing going on these days, and that is companies know that we want to advocate for natural health, so they will package a fancy green organic looking label, but it may not actually be a good quality product. So there's a couple of brands I'm just going to read out to you that I know for sure are good ones to work with, but you do need to always read your labels. And so Gurananda is a blend or a company of oils that do produce a 100% essential oil-based product. The keywords that you're looking for is essential oil or 100%. If it says something like naturally fragrance or oil blend or even essential oil blend, you really need to turn that bottle over and read the actual ingredients. So this one is 100% pure cinnamon leaf essential oil. This is a single origin product from Sri Lanka. Single origin just means that they didn't pick a whole bunch of, plant species throughout the area and then derive their oils from that. A lot of people have different considerations for why you wouldn't want to do that. One of them is just the carbon footprint in and of itself. And the other is similar to like the organic or locally sourced honey process. If it's homogenized, if it's been blended with a bunch of different plants from different areas, you may not be getting the same benefit as you would if it was just a single source local to you. Also, if it's a single source, just from a consumer standpoint, there's more accountability in the production of it because only one person was holding the bag on that. Another company that I really like is From Farm to You. And these are things that you can find on Amazon, Walmart, Walgreens. And I'll link them if I can find links to them. But again, you're looking for, hopefully I can show that to you, that it says 100% essential oil. If it says blend, you're going to want to turn that around and read, because oftentimes there are chemical compounds that will smell just like the essential oil, but it is not in fact the essential oil. If you have any autoimmune disorders or, migraine considerations, it's really important that you are sourcing pure grade oil. I do know that there are some like product to consumer direct companies that sell really high quality value oils. There's Young Living. I think doTERRA is still a thing. I'm forgetting one. There's another one too. I'll remember it and link it. I'm not personally affiliated with any of them. I am familiar with their oils. I do buy them on occasion. To be quite honest, sometimes they're a little bit higher of a price point than I personally want to invest, especially if I, as an informed consumer, am looking at what I'm buying and know for sure that I'm getting what I think that I'm getting. This one has rubbed off, but this company actually makes really good packs that are on Amazon. And so I will find that and share that with you. But again, 100% pure therapeutic grade essential oil. Another good test is actually if it says not for human consumption. That's a good indication that it's not 100% essential oil. The FDA doesn't really require that they put that on there, but because it's not a food product, but that is just kind of a tip. What I'm going to be doing today is I'm taking just my standard spray bottle of water, and my blend that I like to use is I like to use cinnamon, orange, and frankincense. If you've not worked with frankincense, it's a really wonderful oil for this time of year, not only because you can talk to your family and your kids about how this ties into the Christmas story. It was one of the gifts to the infant Jesus by the three kings. But also it really smells very woodsy, and so it adds good depth, almost like an umami fragrance if we want to get fancy. Orange is just always uplifting, especially around this time. It just invokes all those feelings of good cheer and kind of Yuletide. And then of course cinnamon, because there's just nothing like a cinnamon scented pine cone, which is really fun to say. So what I do is I use about 10 drops total. So for this particular bottle, I think I did 3, 2, and 5, if I'm remembering correctly. It's really just about what you personally enjoy. I wanted to lead with cinnamon, so I definitely had more cinnamon than the rest. But you just open up your spray bottle, and I'll add some more cinnamon, because why not? Every bottle dispenser is different, but do make sure you have one of these restrictors on there. Otherwise, you're going to pour way too much. If you don't have a restrictor, you can actually use a little micro pipette, or just put it on like a spoon or something first so you don't dump the whole bottle in your container. But so I also find that holding it at a 45-degree angle and then just tapping it is kind of a good way to get it out. You'll see that. It just smells so good. And so once you have that in your water bottle, you're going to go ahead and shake it. And then, important step that I forgot to mention is you want to treat your pine cones first. These have been outside, right, y'all? So what you want to do is you want to get a pan. I love the ones from the Dollar Tree for this because I don't have to worry about messing up my fancy pans. You want to put all of these guys on here, and you're going to heat treat this 200 degrees in the oven for 20 minutes. Now, you don't want to go more than 200 degrees because these pine cones do have sap in them. That sap is going to melt off, and if it's higher than 200 degrees, that's where you're going to trigger that flash point, and that can make all kinds of fire hazards or just not a very pleasant smell in your home if that sap ignites. 200 degrees for 20 minutes is sufficient to kill off any of the little critters that might have been living in these pine cones that you don't want to introduce into your home or gift to your friends once you've packaged it all up, only to find that something has sprouted or hatched when you weren't planning for that. If you are doing the just big bag of cinnamon pine cones, what I do is I just put them in this old salad spinner. You can actually find these at your local recycling centers all the time because people break the bowls and then they just recycle these. They're also available at Goodwill. I don't know that you could ever really find all of the parts to make one complete again, but for stuff like this is a great application because what it does is it allows you to kind of shake the things and keep some air circulation going so that nothing gets moldy. Once you've sprayed this a good 10-20 times, shaking it, just go ahead and let it sit until it dries. One other consideration when you're heat processing it, one of the other reasons in addition to killing off the critters is it actually forces the pine cone to open up a little bit more. That just gives you better surface area. It looks pretty. Now when you get it wet, it may shrink back a little bit, but once it dries, it'll go back to that opened presentation. So now that these are sprayed, I'm just gonna let them sit. And this is just one quick way to make scented cinnamon pine cones to gift or to use around your home, you know, for the Christmas season. But another thing that you can do is make fire starters out of them. So I think we all have like random pieces of candle wax that the wick is either burned out or it's just not burning right. If you have a whole bunch of wax that you want to reclaim and reuse, you can pop those candles in their glass container in the freezer for about 20 minutes. And then once you pop them out, you can gently take like a wooden utensil or even a knife, just be careful, around the edge of the candle, and the wax will separate from the glass really clean. So not only do you get your container back really nice, but you'll get your nice big wax disc. And then you'll just simply want to heat that up using a double boiler. A double boiler is just a regular saucepan with water, and then you put another bowl over it so that you're not heating the wax directly in your pan or directly in the water. For one, if you were to do that in the water, it would really be difficult to extract that wax back, and also you're going to just ruin your pan, and no one wants that. So what I have is I actually have a Christmas scented candle that, while I love, it just doesn't actually burn that well. It's one of those 3-wick ones, and it's just kind of funky when it burns. So what I do to make my wick, and it's nice to add a wick to a fire starter. You don't have to, but I like to do that because it's easier for whoever you're gifting it to just light it and pop it in the fire rather than having to chuck the whole pine cone into the embers and hope it catches. So what you'll want to do is just cut a piece of cord. You do want to make sure that you're using a natural fiber. You don't want to use anything synthetic because it's going to catch on fire and then you'll be burning plastic. So what I do is I just make a little loop by tying it this way. And then once I've got my knot secured, now I have this little wick that I can dip in the wax, and that will actually make it the wick. So I've got my cord and I'm just dipping it in this wax. You want to dip it in, pull it out, let it drip, dip it in, pull it out, let it drip. And then once you've got that set up and dried, and I, through the magic of YouTube, have prepared one already, I've got this one ready. What you do is you take a pine cone. So for brevity, I'll just take the one that we just scented, and you're just going to work the loop around the actual petals of the pine cone, twisting it until you get it back up towards the top. And now you have this wonderfully scented pine cone that also has this wick that your friends can light and chuck into their fireplace. Because you've only used natural sources and you've only used natural fibers, these are safe to burn inside the home in, you know, your standard wood burning fireplace or stove. Or if you want, you can use them for, you know, bonfires. So here's a couple that I've done earlier. Just kind of wanted to show you what that looks like. These are really cute, packaged up in some cellophane with some, you know, Christmas ribbons on it. And I just, I hope that that kind of is maybe one suggestion for you on how you can use your pine cones that you might have in abundance around your homestead to, you know, gift others, and also just to kind of get out of this consumerist trap, right? Like, I think that Christmas comes around and we know why we're celebrating it, but the desire to outbuy or to prove our love through purchasing gifts, which many of these gifts that we're purchasing, they're not, you know, 5-10 year products. They're something that the person might enjoy and use, but it's probably going to be 6 months to 1 year, unless you're throwing in some serious money. And if you're throwing in some serious money, I think that that is wonderful. But I also want to encourage you to consider that there's nothing more meaningful than the gift of intention and the gift of time. And so your intention in reclaiming some of these things that might otherwise just be treated as yard waste is that you are sustainably caring for our earth. So if you are gifting to someone who is eco-conscious, that really shows them that you care about what matters to them. You know, and I love that. So I would love to receive something like this. And so for that reason, I know that my friends who are similarly minded will love to receive this as well. And not only does it just give them something beautiful to enjoy around their home, again, even now, these scented pine cones, they're just wonderful. I mean, it's just, I want to eat gingerbread now. But I hope that that is helpful to you. I hope that you guys are well. And until next time, bye, y'all.